We actually do have kind of the best meet cute story ever, pretty much. I'm going to say what I remember, and if you need to add or alter.
Do you want me to remember anything, right?
Well, let's see how it goes. Long-term partners. How come you need more than one partner? Because new sources of memory added to the mix are actually a wise idea. Dina has an excellent memory, and I'm like, good.
Good job remembering that.
Good. That's really good. Because I'm not sure I do anymore so much. Robert and I met through a woman, a friend of mine, a friend and sometimes lover of his. The woman had introduced me to the sex industry because I had moved to San Francisco and was out of money. So I was very glad to meet this person who said, a source of income I know about is, and introduced me to the sex industry. So she introduced the two of us, and I was already in my degree program at the Institute for Advanced Study of Human Sexuality, where I ultimately did get my doctorate in sexology. And part of what I did through there was get introduced to the Jack and Jill off parties, which began in the late 1980s, and were a safer sex group sex alternative for several years until they died. They were like the any gender, any kind of sexuality except intercourse. Mm-hmm. And so it was also for me my first space of real diversity, like real active diversity. Like I can see it before my eyes. I can decide to participate in any of those activities, diversity. Robert found out that I was involved in the Jack and Jill offs and said, "Do you need any help with the next one?" I said, "Sure, let's get you involved as a volunteer." And it was at that party that we connected. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think we connected in the conversation initially where we both went,
ding.
"Oh, fuck that."
Yeah.
We probably both said that to each other or to one another or to in our own minds or whatever. But that was where we wound up connecting. Nice. And also where we, after we had a lovely time, we did the little negotiation of, "You want to come home with me now? Actually, I have another home I have to go to." Mm-hmm. Sort of open relationship, but I can't. But I had an agreement to come home after I came to this party, so I can't go with you. Mm-hmm. So from the very beginning that we began to be not quite a unit, but we were getting there soon. Built into it was he had another partner. Built into it was I was a sex worker and had other partners, at least in that context and in other contexts as well. So we sort of walked into the relationship as an open relationship. And of course, some relationships don't do that. Some figure it out once they've theoretically been monogamous or supposedly been monogamous or whatever.
However it evolves.
But from, the surprise is not that somebody has sex with somebody outside the relationship. The real interesting thing is, how do you talk about it? How do you negotiate it? How do you keep it a secret? Do you not? I mean, that's really the communication is the nexus. It's not the behavior, right? It's the communication about it that turns us into an alternate community of people. Because otherwise, we're just regular monogamous people getting some on the side and lying about it like other people sometimes do. Right. So we were fortunate not to have that moment ever of how do we work this? How do we stay monogamous if we're going to? How do we talk about non-monogamy? It just was a fact.
And we met. This was 1988.
We met in 1988, and we connected in 1999. 89.
And that was at the Jack and Jill off, and there
later,
was a person who is very central to the SM community at the time, holding a ladder while Carol's going up the ladder, hanging twinkle lights. So there's twinkle lights being hung.
Getting ready for the
And I'm asking to help, and I'm holding the ladder on the other side and doing my best not to look up Dr. Queen's skirt. Who wasn't Dr. Queen at the time? She's Carol. And we were chatting and flirting, and I gave them a bit of doggerel. So this is 1980.
It's a limerick.
A limerick, which got covered in the local newspaper later that week. Our meeting literally got covered in the newspaper.
Two of your meetings got
But
covered?
Yes.
let me give you the
But-
limerick. Let me give you the limerick. A truck driving lessee named Spike hauled dildos at night down the pike. When asked by the fuzz what it was that she does, she said, "I'm a fake Dick Van Dyke." And that's 1988.
So naturally, I fell in love with him
And
immediately.
it's like, what I was trying to do was to flirt with Seth. I was trying to hook up with the boy, and I ended up hooking up with the girl. And
well, it's a good thing.
the first kiss hit and has lasted since. It's an amazing thing. And that was the famous night that got covered in the paper with a line that ended up in a columnist, old columnist, long time ago, pre-internet, back in the dark ages.
Dinosaurs rule.
Called
Herb Cain.
Herb Cain.
He was a very famous
And
columnist.
There was a situation I was in that night when we were making out. The kiss stuck and stayed. We were still kissing hours later. And a guy I was wearing an outfit that had a top hat.
A ringmaster's
And the
outfit.
top hat
It was a
was-
circus-themed party.
And the top hat was rented. And there's this guy furiously masturbating. I'm like, "Arr!" masturbating on the other side of my hat. And I looked up from Carol for a second. I said, "Please, sir, do not come in my hat."
Because it was a rented one.
Because it was
it was a rented
rented.
hat.
And because he might want to put it on his head again later and
Yeah.
he might not want to
I
come
don't
in
know
here.
him that well,
Just
so
be aware of where you're pointing. You know?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I don't know him
basic
so
social
that quote
skills.
ended up in Herb Cain the next week, and yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, someone overheard this and passed it on to Herb Cain. Herb was not at the party.
Oh, so that's
We don't
wanna
wanna-
got in the
Yeah, please, sir, don't come
Yeah.
in my hat. Yeah.
It became part of the history of San Francisco now. So
Oh, beautiful.
that's how we met. That's how we met.
Um,
That's